In the final soup, I
Okay.
really like to use a fresh diced carrot. Um,
Okay.
for years, I added fresh celery too to the end, like adding like a fresh mirepoix. Well, it's not
Hmm.
mirepoix because it doesn't have the onion
Hmm.
in it, but I have over the last several years. This is a little bit from like feedback from my children who are very opinionated at the
Okay.
dinner table, but they don't really love celery in the final
As they should
soup.
be.
And so I call them like the Statler and Waldorf, like mouthing off from the balcony with their cantankerous opinions on everything I do. But I'm with them. I would say that the final soup celery isn't the best celery. Like celery is so essential for stock, but I don't know that it's as important for the final soup. What I love having in the final soup, and this is just my
Maybe
own
you're just not
personal preference.
cellaring it hard
Ooh,
enough.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
not
no,
working that way. Huh?
I like the effort though. So A plus effort.
Whatever. I don't
I
care
like
at all
leek.
about your opinion.
I knew
You
that
like
that
leeks?
joke
Yeah,
was
leeks
working.
are good.
I
You
love
know,
a
leeks
leek.
are a great soup vegetable. I
Yes.
love a good leek too, and they're great
I
soup
don't put
vegetable
it in the
because
stock.
they
I
come with
put
a
it in the.
built-in stock section. Oh, I was gonna say
So
like because
I
they
was gonna.
have all the greens. All right, you
I've
go
put
first. You
them
go
in
first.
stock. Okay, so I've put them in stock, but what I really like is at the end, when for the final, I love seeing like little rings of leeks in my. I love the
Hmm.
green. I love leeks because I always, and I don't think anyone else really agrees with me on this, but I feel like they taste like a cross between an onion and a potato and a green. They have this mellow sweetness that I love in soup.
Sure, I can see that. Yeah, yeah,
Do you see
yeah.
the
I
potato
can sort of
thing?
see that.
It's like a potato onion.
Yeah, I can mildly see it. Yeah, sure. Maybe it's just because I have like a potato and leek association because they go well together. But
Maybe that's it. But
wait, but
the
Deb, but are you saying you don't the when you buy a leek and you know you cut off like half of it because the greens are too fibrous to eat, right? And you don't put that in your stock then?
So I've done it before, but I felt like it made my stock bitter. But maybe I did it wrong because I know there's a lot of Asian
Huh.
soups that might use the darker green. Because I would love to use it. I hate
Well, yeah,
wasting
but
it, but I
even in
didn't
like a
like the way
French
it came
restaurant, you're going
out.
to take the leek greens and put it in a stock.
Maybe I need to try it again.
Um,
Maybe it was something else that made it bitter,
yeah,
and maybe I just made it wrong
maybe it
because
was
I
your
hate
attitude.
throwing it away. Maybe I have a lousy attitude, which has been established. um, but I love seeing like the yellow, green, white leeks and diced carrots in my final
Hmm.
soup. So that's my end vegetables. And I don't like
Got
to
it.
just put them into the broth. I like to sweat them for a minute first, ideally in some of the chicken fat I've skimmed from the stock. And I know you're anti sweating soup vegetables, but
And
I felt
so
like I
I'm
made it.
not necessarily anti. I'm not necessarily anti-sweating. Sorry, Deb. I didn't mean to cut you off. You feel
I
like you
was
made
just
it.
gonna say I've tried it both ways, and for me, when I just add, and I do have recipes where I tell you to just toss the vegetables back in. I will say that my current favorite way is just, and I don't mean sweating them until they're really mushy and cooked, just kind of getting them started
Hmm.
so they're like a little translucent. I feel that when I
Okay.
cook them a bit in the fat, they have a sweeter, more interesting flavor. And when I just throw them directly in the soup, I
Right.
get a little bit of that boiled vegetable vibe, that like boiled vegetable smell that I don't like. But I'm picky.
So to me, it's you end up with it's two sort of two different soups. I'm not saying like that one is. I think it's a choice you have to make, and I agree. Yeah. So when you sweat your vegetables, they get a sweeter taste to them, and that's a thing that I feel when I eat a soup where the vegetables have been lightly sweated, you can taste that sweetness, and you can taste that it doesn't quite taste like the fresh vegetables. And to me, like that just tastes a little off. You know, it's like if I got a bottle of Heinz ketchup and like someone had swapped it out for Hunt's. You know, it's where it's not like maybe that's a bad example because Heinz is obviously the right choice unless Hunt's is advertising with us. I don't know. But it tastes like like someone just switched your brand around. And you're like, wait a minute, something's a little off here, and it's not that it's wrong or that it's bad. It's just like it doesn't quite taste right to me. Like to me, the flavor of yeah, the raw vegetables that have just been simmered without any amount of sweating, without any of that sort of sweetening that you get when you sweat them. To me, that's the flavor that I associate with chicken soup. In the same way that like when you make chicken soup out of a roasted carcass versus out of raw chicken, it tastes different, right? You get those
Mhm.
roasty flavors, and it's not a bad thing, but then
It's
it
different.
becomes roasted chicken soup and not just plain chicken soup. I don't know why it is, but for me, it's also that chicken soup is such a simple simple thing, that the whole step of adding extra fat to it or skimming off the fat, sweating the vegetables in that, like it's just a step that I don't want to bother taking. Like I
And
want to
I'm
boil my broth, I want to skim it onto a new pot, dump my vegetables in, let it boil, and that's it.
But wait, that's exactly when you do it because I'm going to dump the stock and the bones. So I'm going to strain it. So now it's elsewhere. Now the pot's empty. So I just sweat the vegetables in the
Oh,
bottom
I
for a
just strain
moment.
it straight into a second pot.
Well, look at you with
Well,
all
what I
your
usually do
big
actually is I'll
kitchen
make
and
my stock in
multiple
a wok.
pots.
I make it in my wok these days, and then I
You do?
skim it into
Wait,
a
how many
soup pot.
quarts does your
Yeah.
wok hold?
It holds. I mean, it holds like a one chicken's worth of stock. I don't know,
Wow.
probably three quarts, maybe. I don't
Oh,
know, maybe
okay.
4 quarts. I'm
That's
not sure.
impressive.
Not sure. It's a
Yeah, I'm
14-inch
usually
wok. I don't know. You can take a
straining
chicken
it
carcass, hack it up,
in the sink.
and
And
put it
so
in there,
I
and
have that
then
empty
just enough
pot.
water to cover.
But I also think, I mean, this is true of everything because we talk about a lot of comfort food on the show. We talk about mac and cheese and grilled cheese and ziti. I mean, so much when you talk about how
All the cheese
sweated,
things, yeah.
yeah, we're in anything with orange cheese or popcorn, like we're gonna cover it with a level of detail you didn't ask for on this show. But when you talk about like it tastes different to you and it tastes off because I mean, probably chicken noodle soup more than any other thing we've talked about on the show. You want it to taste like home. You want it to taste like the way you had it growing up. Like you want it to have like it's got a nostalgia point. You don't?
I would say for you as a New York Jew, that's probably more true than for me as someone who grew up in a Japanese household. But yes,
Right.
for me, chicken soup was Campbell's. Was
Wow.
my mom sometimes made chicken soup growing up, but it wasn't like it was more often than not it would be from a can condensed chicken noodle soup, which I love. I do still love Campbell's condensed chicken noodle soup.
They got that recipe right.
What's that?
They got the recipe right. I mean, that's like
They
that's
certainly
what
did get the
America
recipe
thinks it
right.
tastes
Well,
like.
but
Yeah.
they got the marketing right and they got the nostalgia factor right. That's like, you get kids when they're my daughter forever is going to be a Campbell's fan because she eats Campbell's soup when she's sick now, right? So like you build those things that you convince parents to give it to kids, and then those kids are fans for life. Like that's
Okay,
that's
so
how
I did it wrong.
McDonald's does it. That's how Campbell's does it. That's how they all do it. That's how the cigarette companies do it.
So now I'm regretting making my life so difficult. My kids are only going to think that homemade chicken noodle soup is the right one because now
Well,
I could have been opening a can, Kenji. Like, why am I making things so hard?
Speaking of homemade stuff though, do you make your own noodles?
I have made my own noodles before. I don't
Okay.
always love them more. I really like a bagged egg noodle. My husband and I disagree on it. He likes the twisty ones, like he likes the bigger soup noodle, but I find it clumsy to get it on the spoon. I like the ones that are like short pieces of spaghetti or vermicelli. Um,
Oh
I like to
wow!
see a lot of
So you don't like the wide flat egg noodles?
I like them for other things.
Because for me, it's like
in
the
a bowl
wide.
with
If I'm
butter
making
and
chicken noodle
salt.
soup, the wider the better.
And
Oh,
I
wow,
find
okay.
he thinks the little ones are harder to get on the spoon, but I think the bigger ones are. But anyway, since I'm usually cooking, I win.
I certainly think like little pieces of broken up spaghetti are the hardest to get on the spoon. Like I would do either real tiny things, like sometimes I'll buy alphabet pasta or I'll
Oh,
buy
I
like
love
little
doing that for
stars
the
or whatever.
kids. They're not into it.
I like doing it for myself.
I thought alphabet soup was the coolest thing growing up. I thought it was so
Really?
cool.
Have you tried telling them that there's a bee in their soup? 'Cause
No, but I should.